Parts unknown. We'll check the budget for Monica later, and we'll check the budget for Wendy. But first, game of the night, Game 4. Western Conference Finals. Victor Wembanyama at home, needing to get that split early on. This is just gangly guy-on-guy crime. Wembanyama to Chet Holmgren. Just stop. Alan, I'm going to bring you into the highlight because this was a physical game, not much scoring, but here in transition, the sell to Wemby, this was just good.
Wembanyama at the start of this game was a dominant force, which he's been throughout the season, but this was a great competitive response.
Here, De'Aaron Fox, a good high handoff to Wemby. Wemby, the reverse tip-in.
Yeah.
Spurs up by 8. Closing seconds of the half. This is the highlight we'll remember for quite some time. Listen to how it sounds.
Wembanyama, I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go from midcourt. Got it!
Alan, this looked like a routine jumper.
He wanted this shot. If you could freeze time, everybody would put money that was going in. He wanted that ball. He wanted that shot, and there was no doubt he was making that shot. It's a big-time play.
Wemby, 22 points in the first half, had 26 points in all of Game 3. Spurs up 12. Later, Stephon Castle picks Isaiah Hartenstein's pocket. We're running.
Oh, my God. Again, look at the finish on the break. He's jumping from the dotted line. There's no stopping that. No stopping that. But their defense, Matt, they were all over. Their energy was off the charts defensively in this game. They were causing turnovers and getting points off turnovers, which is what Oklahoma City normally does to you.
Which, by the way, Oklahoma City was their second fewest point total of the postseason. They only had 38 first-half points, and Wemby and company took advantage. Beat down in San Antonio last night, 103-82. It's been sensational postseason for Wembanyama, who continues to stuff the stat sheet with his play. Yesterday joined Bill Walton in 1977 as the only player since blocks became an official stat in 1974 with 300 points, 150 rebounds, and 50 blocks in their first career postseason. Walton led the Blazers to a title that year. Wemby, however, he shouldn't, and he's not getting ahead of himself just yet.
We didn't do nothing unexpected, but the truth is that we had never been in this kind of situation before. It was our first deficit, and we just responded, but it was nothing amazing. It wasn't magic. We just did what we needed to do.
They just punched us in our face early. It's 2 games in a row. They've come out the aggressors. Last game we were able to course correct. Tonight, we just didn't do so.
They did not do so, and because of it, we've got a series tied at 2 apiece. Time to unpack this from several different angles. Wendy, I want to start with you. What was your biggest takeaway from what we saw last night?
Yeah, they played with an appropriate level of force from a team whose season was under threat. It wasn't an elimination game, but you go down 3-1 going on the road, you're cooked. And that's the way that they played. And I'm going to say going forward in this series, the alarm bells should be going off a little bit for the Thunder because this was the first game they played in the playoffs without A.J. Mitchell and Jalen Williams. And boy, did it make a difference in their offensive creation. It's one thing when you're missing one. When you're missing 2, it puts so much stress on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to create. And then you look at the other end, Victor Wembanyama with the dunks. I just want to point out, obviously he does more than just dunk the basketball, okay? But in game 1, he had 6 dunks, all right? In games 2 and 3 combined, he had 2 dunks. He had 1 in each game. Last night, you could tell the force he was playing with. 4 dunks in that game. He had a couple other alley-oop layups. The force that he played with definitely set the tone for his team.
Yeah, and look, Alan, it's one of those situations in a response. Wendy hit on it there perfectly. You can't go back on the road 3-1. It was a must-win for the Spurs, and Wemby and his team responded. What did you make of their response?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, and I use that phrase again, the competitive response, which is what Mitch Johnson, that's the phrase he used when he talked about his team's performance. And it also shows you, again, what we've learned about Victor Wembanyama is that, yes, he is a precocious neophyte, but he is somebody that is already ready, if you know what I mean. Because he said, our standard is higher than what we saw in Game 3. Greg Popovich went into that locker room after Game 3 and said, this is not what we're about. And he took that to say, right, I have to raise my level. What he talks about is, I'm here for it. I want this. For his young age, for him to do these things, shots like this, He wants the ball in those situations. He wants this matchup with the Thunder. He's talked about it all season. So while we all say they're young, they might not be ready yet, he's saying, I'm already here.
Yeah, and Monica, we talked about this during the regular season where you saw Wembanyama grow into the player where it was clear he wants the ball in his hands when it matters most. Question, though, now you're putting out all this energy in the playoffs. Can he sustain this level of play and this high energy now for a series that appears to maybe be going the distance?
Matt, this was my question watching last night. I mean, he was fantastic, but he was also fantastic in game one. And then game two, he looked physically exhausted. I think Wemby nailed it in terms of the injuries for the Thunder. I also think both of these teams, I'm not going to say that they are alternating taking games off because I wouldn't disrespect the pursuit of a championship in that way. But when we get to the games, you can almost tell which team won the previous game based on the gas that's left in the tank going into the next one. And so I think as we look at the Spurs, if they are the team that can stay healthier around Victor, but I still don't know the answer to the question if it's going to require the Herculean efforts from Victor versus his, light double-doubles, if you will, when you're talking about a guy like this.
And when we saw the numbers there a moment ago of how good the Spurs are with Wemby on the court relative to when he's off. I mean, it doesn't take a stat scientist to figure out they're better with him on the court. But you are going to have to preserve his energy, like I said, for a series that appears it could go the distance. How would you use Mitch Johnson in the minutes to maybe preserve Wemby a little bit to keep him fresh as this series wears on?
Well, I'm sure this is one thing that the Spurs are going to try to examine because they are being pushed to levels that they have not been pushed before with this group. And, typically their rotation has been to give Victor bigger stretches of minutes off the court. And what we have seen, you saw, referenced Shea earlier, how they fell behind in the last two games and they were able to come back. They've been coming back when Victor's been off the bench or been on the bench. And so that may be something they have to look at. But the Spurs I want to be clear, the Spurs did not play an overall awesome offensive game last night. They shot 38% and shot 27% on three. This game was decided at the other end of the court. The defense that the Spurs played with Victor. We're going to watch the offensive highlights, but they can play better. The Spurs can play better offensively, and they probably will to win Oklahoma City.
And the defense, and Wendy hit on it there. I mean, they stifled a team, again, second lowest postseason output this year. Yeah,
they changed up what they were doing. And that is to, instead of trying to trap and blitz Shea Gilgeous-Alexander further away from the basket, getting the ball out of his hands, they instead let him go one-on-one once he got towards the paint because we know he's not going to shoot threes. And then they were all over him. I mean, just as a great example play, look at this. He's got nowhere to go. He's at the nail, doesn't know what to do. Shot clock's running down. He gives a little bit of an attempt, loses it, grenade, Hardenstein, nothing. Now dive. Look at everybody diving on the floor, getting after that ball. That's three players against one. Two guys dive on the floor against Gilgeous-Alexander. They made his life miserable all night. All but one of his shots were contested in this game. He felt the pressure of defense throughout this game from the start. I thought Castle was fantastic. Fox, Vassell, they were sending everybody at him, but they weren't doing it far away. They changed something up. It is an adjustment now that the Thunder have to make, but they made SGA, the MVP, the two-time MVP, they made his life miserable in this game. Yeah,
and Monica, look, end of the day, and you guys know this, going on a championship run, repeating as champions, it's hard work. You're not just going to roll the ball out and win every series. Is that the case with Oklahoma City, or is this perhaps a matchup with San Antonio that might be the worst matchup they could have because we saw it in the regular season? San Antonio's not scared of this team.
Yeah, it is definitely the worst matchup they could have drawn, Matt. Like, you're on it in that. But to Alan's point, the Spurs had 25 points last night off of Thunder turnovers. But I just also think whether you're talking about the offensive output, Wendy did a great job using the dunks as an example. Or if you look at the defensive output, when you talk about the Spurs and the way that Alex Caruso and those guys were getting into Victor Wembanyama's legs and the effort that they put, it's just going to require so much to get out of this series. And when you get to, I think this one is going at least 6, if not 7, like, who is literally going to have enough left? Now, Victor Wembanyama does seem to be the single most differentiating factor because he's so troubling to have to figure out how to guard. But just the swings and the effort in this one are just undeniable.
Yeah, and here's what I love about this series, too. Someone's going to have to break serve. You keep going win, win. To win the series, you're going to have to break serve. Cannot wait to see that with you guys all morning, talking NBA, including a big one for the Knicks. Can they get to the finals? We'll find out.